There is a ton that Gotham Knights doesn't tell you about some of its key features. For instance, did you know that you can fuse mods to create better ones? Or that each enemy faction has a specific elemental weakness? Well, we will cover these hidden things and other features you shouldn't be sleeping on in this video. Leaving a like would really help us out, subscribe for way more Gotham Knights content, and let's go. So like we already said in our early tips video, it's definitely smart to play all the tutorials in the Belfry, as these can teach you about features you might otherwise not be aware of. I went through the entire game having no idea how to use smoke bombs, while these are actually very useful as they allow you to re-enter stealth by grappling to a vantage point and holding the grapple button instead of pressing it. Enemies will lose track of you and start searching the area, meaning you can get into position for a nice stealth takedown. You can of course also use these training missions to get some practice in on perfect dodges, timed strikes and the like, so in general it's a really useful tool if you want to work on a specific aspect of your gameplay. There are 16 of them in total, although some of them you have to unlock with story progression and by unlocking all of your momentum abilities. But there is actually a feature the game doesn't give you a tutorial on that is really useful to know about, and that is mod fusing. By now you might already know mods are really handy as they can increase a lot of useful stats on your gear, but did you know you can fuse them together to make new, stronger ones? Now I know that already sounds great, but I actually recommend that you don't touch this feature until you've reached max level. The reason for that is that you can easily use lower level mods to upgrade your highest ranked ones. Let's explain how it works first. You go to your mod inventory, press triangle or Y to open the fusion screen, and then select 4 mods you want to combine into a new one. The rarity of the new mod is decided by the rarity of the previous one, so using 4 commons will make an uncommon, 4 uncommons make a rare, etc. Adding higher tier mods won't change this, so if you fuse 3 rares and 1 epic, it will still create an epic mod. But once you add a lower rarity mod, so 3 rares and an uncommon for instance, you cannot upgrade it to a higher tier, because as you can see here, there is a 100% chance that this fusion will create a rare mod. Unfortunately, however, you can't combine 4 epic mods into a legendary, that will still turn into an epic. The level of the mod, however, and this is where it gets interesting, is actually decided by the highest level mod that's part of the fusion. Meaning that 3 low level mods and 1 from a much higher level will guarantee in a high level mod that will also be of a higher rarity. So it's really smart to save up all of these low level mods and then use them near the end of the game to create rare or even epic mods at max level. There are a few different types of mods you can fuse, of course the main thing being that there are mods for your suits, your melee weapon and your ranged weapon. And suit mods always seem to increase health, at least I haven't found any that do anything else. But both type of weapon mods come with either more critical damage or increased elemental buildup. Now that last type is definitely the most useful, at least in my opinion, because pretty much all of the elemental effects in the game are really useful, so applying them to enemies faster will always be of use. And by the way, if you want to go after a specific enemy faction, you can check their elemental resistances and weaknesses in the in-game database. You find these by going to the Profiles tab and then selecting Factions. As a general rule of thumb, each enemy faction is weak to a specific element, with higher ranked enemies also dealing a single type of elemental damage and sometimes even being resistant to it as well. So if we look at the freaks here, they're all resistant to fire damage but have a weakness to chemical damage. So when using that element against them, you will not only notice that the status effect builds up really fast, but also that your damage numbers against these enemies will turn red. This indicates that you are hitting them with the element they are weak against, which can really change the tide of a battle. Especially Frost against the Court of Owls makes the otherwise tanky and annoying gladiators really a piece of cake. And even bosses have weaknesses, which you can also view in the database. Using fire against Mr. Freeze, for example, will make the otherwise challenging encounter against him way more manageable. And while you're in the database, you can also see that there are some higher ranked variants of enemies that gain access to new moves, like the fact that a champion brawler has access to an armored attack. So to sum up, if you're about to enter a villain arc or a crime where you know you'll be facing a certain enemy faction, check your gear loadout and bring the elemental damage type best suited for that encounter. And while you're looking at your gear, it's also smart to check if you have any perks on it. The game doesn't really tell you about these, but some of them them are actually really useful and kinda go to waste if you're not aware of how to activate them. So perks appear on epic and legendary gear as well as some heroic items, but rare or lower pieces don't seem to have any perks. You can easily check a piece of gear's perks by pressing triangle or Y to open the detail screen where the perks will be displayed all the way at the bottom. And there are actually a lot of different ones from what I've seen so far, and the legendary pieces can even have up to 3 perks at a time. I have increased momentum buildup and health over time after a perfect evade on this elusive suit, which is really nice, especially on an elusive character like Nightwing. And to make it even better, I can then pair that suit with these concussive darts that will instantly grant momentum after defeating an enemy with a perfect attack, and also grant me more momentum buildup after using an ability. I mean, it's easy to see the potential for even more amazing builds here, which makes hunting for new loot even more exciting. And maybe you already noticed these character icons on your map. Well, those are your contracts, and it's really smart to check in with them. Most of these are introduced as part of your second case file, and after that, Lucius Fox, Renee Montoya, and Jada Tompkins will all give you challenge objectives. After completing these, you can return to the specific contact to receive your rewards. But what the game doesn't tell you directly is that each individual contact has a certain type of gear they reward you for completing these challenges. You find this information again in the database under crimes in the guidebook. Here you can see that Lucius will reward you with unique mod chips, Montoya gives legendary items and blueprints focused on damage, and Tompkins does the same but for gear with defensive bonuses. So effectively, this system allows you to grind for gear with specific buffs and is even useful in the late game as it can also reward you with legendaries. For me, the challenge rewards only appeared in my inventory after visiting the Belfry, so don't panic if they don't show up immediately. However, it is worth noting that there seems to be only one set of blueprints to farm per level. While recording for this video, I redid Montoya's challenge and got the same rewards on the reward screen at level 30, but when I checked my blueprints in the Belfry, there was nothing new there. Which I assume is because I already had the same blueprint in my inventory from doing the challenge before. Not sure if this is the case for all contacts, so if you know more, let us know in the comments. There's one more contact from the story that I haven't mentioned yet, which is Oswald Cobblepot, or as you probably know him, Penguin. While he works with a similar challenge system, Oswald only rewards you with a large amount of crafting materials upon completion, which is certainly nice and useful, but not as exciting as receiving legendary blueprints. And then there's still the Watch, which are unlocked via an optional side objective. It appears on your map very early on, just go to this point in the northwest side of Gotham, talk to the NPC, and then you can find a Watch challenge when you go out at night. Now these are a bit different as they require you to complete objectives in a specific part of Gotham, so just check the map to make sure you're doing your crime fighting in the right area. Watch rewards include gear that focus on elemental damage and resistance, and the type of which actually depends on the NPC you get your challenge from. So here I receive an objective from David, and after completing it I am rewarded with concussive gear. Like I said earlier, these elemental damage types are really useful, so those concussive melee weapons I just got are great to use against the regulators. So definitely use this system to grind for the stuff you want, as new challenges will appear after you've completed your previous ones. If there are any features we missed out on, let us know via the input@JorRaptor email address or in the comments below. Of course, subscribe to the channel as well, as we got way more content on the game coming your way. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and if you want, you can watch our previous one where we give you some tips on how to get the best possible start in the game. I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.